Hey everybody, welcome to Way of the Dad. Um, Coming to you live. Well, no, coming to you pre-recorded from the Way of the Dad, partially converted Toolshed Studios. It's me, and want to do another, um, relatively quick hit on something that that we as the family saw recently. I previously talked about Black Adam. Really enjoyed that. It was very fun. Of course, that was a night out at the movies, which we don't do that very often on our family Friday nights. But we did get back home, and we were all still um, feeling pretty good. Wasn't too late. We were all just wiped out and falling asleep yet. So we did try out. Did have an inkling on looking at the new Tales of the Jedi. It's a new a new a collection of shorts, um, done in very much the looks to be a pretty good, um, pretty well within the Clone Wars era of and style of animation, specifically more in line with I would say the final season, which was done long after the Clone Wars ended, and they gave it a proper final season. Um, so there's 16 or there's six shorts. It says they're 16 minutes, but reality we all know Disney loves their credits. Their credits go like at least 2.5 minutes, so they're about 13 and a half minutes long, give or take. And they really highlight and show certain. They fill in some gaps, is what it is. So is this? And I'm gonna do non spoiler up front, and then I'm gonna get into some spoilers. So non-spoilery, staying very vague in general. They fill in some gaps about Ahsoka and Count Dooku mostly. Although there are some appearances of Mace Windu, a young and a not so young Qui-Gon Jinn, Yaddle, believe it or not, fills in some things about Yaddle, which we only saw her in kind of a blink and you miss it type of scene in episode 1, Phantom Menace. So it was really, if you like Clone Wars and you like Rebels, I know some people like one more than the other. I don't get hung up on that. I enjoyed the stories. So I loved Clone Wars and I loved Rebels quite a bit. Um, sure, it took when you start watching Rebels, especially if you came right from Clone Wars and you start watching Rebels, it's a little off, especially when you see that the shape of the lightsabers is a little different. But I I could still tell, like, okay, this is that kind of storytelling. This is on point with that. So really, if you like it, if you like those shows, you're gonna like this one. I would say if you like Clone Wars, this is gonna feel in line with that. Um, so it does fill in some gaps around the histories of both Ahsoka and Count Dooku. Um, and it fills in some things that help us to understand the current versions or the final versions of those characters. Of course, current as in Ahsoka, final as in Sith Lord Count Dooku, Lord Tyrannus, and um, it really does a good job of just giving you small little things that um, flesh out more fully realize these characters, even though, quite frankly, they've been, you know, it's not like they haven't been shown on screen. They haven't had their own arcs and things like that. They definitely have. But it also gets it's like that. So if you really enjoyed the last season of Clone Wars, how it gave you a view of things from a different angle while Revenge of the Sith was happening, while the Empire was falling during those moments, this is kind of like that. It gives you a different angle of viewpoints of certain things around the original trilogy, whether they be more Phantom Menace time or Attack of the Clones. or near, yeah, near Revenge of the Sith, and even a little bit after Revenge of the Sith. If I'm trying to think about this correctly, yeah, that would be a little after Revenge of the Sith. Um, for for Ahsoka, because she's the only one that survived. She survived Revenge of the Sith. So, um, and that's if you haven't seen the last season of Clone Wars, I'm sorry, that's not a spoiler at this point. That's been out a long time. Um, so anyway, hell, if you've seen Rebels, you already know that. So, um, but I really, really like it. This is excellent storytelling. It's that high quality storytelling you're used to from Clone Wars, from Rebels, and it shouldn't become as a surprise because it's created by Dave Filoni. But this is excellent storytelling. Tales of the Jedi is an excellent show. Now, don't get me wrong, you will not spend an extraordinary amount of time watching this. It's not hard to crack this puppy out in a single night. So just understand that's what it is going in. These are shorts. And they're shorts and they show certain decision points and um, certain little lessons that were learned by more or less these two characters. Although we do get some Mace Windu, as I said, we get some Qui-Gon Jinn, we get some Yaddle. It's all in the promos. It's not hidden from us, so that's not spoilery. But I give this a pretty high mark. I'd say this is at least a 9 out of 10. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The music is correct. Uh, the acting, the voice acting, is really well done. Of course, Ashley Eckstein is voicing Ahsoka Tano like she has, and I can't remember the name, that guy that voices Dooku from the Clone Wars. I believe he's back as well, if I remember correctly. So I highly recommend you watch it. Before I get into spoilers, real quick, I'm going to say it again. Would love to have your subscription. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notifications when I do post videos or go live. I do go live a lot. I'm not doing that right now on this one. I want to get back to doing some videos, and so I'm kind of recording a bunch of things so I can kind of have some videos spread out and set to drop. But I do love going live. I like the more off-the-cuff nature. But I don't heavily edit what I do anyway. You're getting me. It's fairly raw, because I don't have time to sit here and edit videos until the wee hours of the morning all the time. I have a day job. I have a family. I have lots of things going on. So I do try to keep my videos pretty straight. And even if I do edit a couple things out, that's about all you're going to see. Maybe some coughs or, if I sneeze or something like that, I'll probably cut that out, right? But I would love your subscription, and if you do love these videos, please share them on whatever social media platform you're on. Doesn't matter. It helps the algorithm to show that this channel is wanting to be watched and it's being shared. And it helps this channel to grow so I can do this more, which is my goal. I'd like to do this more. I have a good time with this. Eventually, I'd like to have maybe like chats, panels. That'd be great. But I got to work towards that. Nothing's built in a day. So I am going to go ahead and get into spoilers now. So you have been warned, and this is recent. So if you are interested in watching this, I highly recommend you go watch it, and then come on back and let's talk about it, because I'm going to go into it. Yeah. So, all right. So, Tales of the Jedi spoilers. We are going to get into that now. I loved this damn show. It was great. So, we've got our episodes, and it starts off with one that is surprisingly good, but surprisingly quiet and tight. Tight in a good way, I mean, as far as storytelling and writing. And it does a lot with silence. Not that it's all silent, but, you know, um, life and death. And this shows us the birth of Ahsoka. This goes right after she's born. Ahsoka is a little baby. And then it skips forward to about a year in, and as a rite of passage, her mother takes her, wraps her up, in a sling. She's only she's a 1 year old toddler, similar to a human. And as a rite of passage, she must go on a hunt with her mother. And of course, this hunt it has some very Native American vibes in the sense that they're obviously hunting to, they're not killing this animal out of malice or for sport. It's ritual, but it's also for a purpose, and it's to feed the village, and nothing gets left behind. Everything gets used. So very Native American, and I can recognize and respect that. Um, but um, unfortunately, the hunt goes well, but there was another hunter in the woods, and it was a very large, saber-tooth looking esque type of tiger creature. I don't know the name of the creature. I'm sorry. And Ahsoka's mother valiantly tries to defend both herself and her newborn or her toddler from the tiger, but she gets overwhelmed, and the villagers come to help. The rest of the village comes to help, including Ahsoka's dad, and but the tiger runs off with Ahsoka, and this is where Ahsoka's force ability comes into play. She's able to calm the beast and connect with the beast. Not in some kind of a weird way, but more like, say, way Grogu has done things, more out of instinct, as opposed to conscious thought. And she, basically gets the tiger to bring her back to her village and give her back to her parents. And then the old wise woman of the village recognizes what she is then. She's a Jedi. And that's where the episode ends. Wonderful episode. Really well done. I love the respect and the reverence that it has for hunting. Now, I have known people in my life that hunt for sport, and I have known people in my life that hunt to put food in the freezer and therefore on the plate for their family. I've known both types, and I'm not, and obviously there's more than just two types, but let's just call it that for now, for the sake of the conversation. And I've known more of the other type, the type that wants to hunt to put food on their table or in their freezer for their family. They're not hunting for sport. They're not hunting to take pictures and, just for that, um, they try to, try not to waste too much, try to make sure it all gets processed in a humane fashion. And of course, I don't know where you live, but out here in the Midwest area, we do have a hell of a deer problem out here if we didn't have the yearly hunting periods. It's vital, because the deer would just absolutely wreck everything if we didn't have the hunting. So I really like how it respects that, and it doesn't shy away from it, and it shows Ahsoka's mother after taking the shot, making a successful shot. But of course, the animal's not dead. It's down, and instead of letting the animal suffer slowly, she, out of mercy, ends its suffering, and it shows that, not in a brutal fashion, but in a way that exactly what she's doing. And I really appreciated that part. That's a hard part to do, but it's necessary. Because you don't need to let an animal suffer like that. There's no reason to. So that was a really good episode. Really wonderful. Loved it. Well done. Now we have the next episode, Justice. And this is the first episode that factors in around a young Count Dooku, Jedi Master Dooku, alongside his apprentice, Qui-Gon Jinn. And Qui-Gon's definitely young, but you see those elements of Qui-Gon in him even at a young age. You see, let's do that again. You see those elements of a young Qui-Gon in him even at that young age, and it shows Count Dooku and Qui-Gon as Jedi investigating the kidnapping of a senator's son, and it's very obvious that they're walking through a very, very, very poor town. Trash everywhere. Everything is basically dilapidated. It's pretty rough looking. And come to find out, they did this they kidnapped this senator's son because the senator is supposed to be representing them, and he's not, and he's living high off the hog, somewhere else, on planet or off planet, while his people suffer, and a lot of his policies make that happen. And of course, Qui-Gon asked the question of Qui-Gon asked the question, why don't you vote him out? And they're like, well, it's not that easy. It's nobody ever. I can't remember if they explained why they can't vote him out, but I think a lot of us, maybe could have enough understanding of, yeah, you try to vote somebody out, but they've got the system rigged to set up in their favor to make sure that they'll always win and they'll always be reelected. Turns out that Count Dooku ends up becoming very disgusted with the senator, who comes with his own troops behind them. One of the townspeople ratted them out as to where they all were because, she wanted some food. And considering how starving and how poor they all are, that's a strong, just being able to get some food is a strong enough desire. And Count Dooku, you see the dark side in him, the anger in him, as he stands between the senator and the kidnappers and the senator's son, who understands, who had no idea that his dad was doing these things to their people. And so it ends on a positive note, but Count Dooku starts to choke the senator and starts just taking out the senator's guards in a very dark force type of way, dark side of the force type of way. And it's Qui-Gon that keeps him from going any further, going too far. And make a mention of, being in the moment and things like that, which of course we hear Qui-Gon talk about with Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace. So it was a really good episode in that regard. Choices, episode number 3. Two Jedi Knights, or Jedi Masters more accurately. Mace Windu and Count Dooku, Master Dooku and Master Windu, go to investigate the suspicious death. They go to retrieve the body of a fallen Jedi Master, and Count Dooku isn't taking the official report of how the Jedi Master died as accurate. He thinks there's more to it. He suspects that there's a cover-up being done because this is a Jedi Master, and how the heck did somebody get the jump on them? It's not very often one of them dies. And so along the way, they recognize, they discover that it is that there was an ambush set up and things of that nature. And this is another interesting one where Dooku's dark side shows again a little bit, and of course, Master Windu is not on the council at this time, and it shows that he is very by the book. We do what we're told. We follow protocol, and and all that stuff, and show him being very rule oriented, whereas Count Dooku's very to heck with the rules. The rules are restraining me. The rules are getting in the way. The rules aren't sufficient in this setting. And and then by the end, there's some anger for Count Dooku when he realizes Master Windu has been promoted to the empty seat on the council, because that was a Jedi Master that was on the council that died, and not Master Dooku. And he accuses Windu of knowing about it and maybe kind of pushing for it. And of course, Master Windu says, I had no idea. You're just as surprised as I am. But Count Dooku's kind of mad. You can tell that he's disappointed that he didn't get promoted to being on the council. Shades of Anakin here, if we're really being honest. You know, the rules are insufficient or too restrictive. Wasn't promoted to the council. You know, got that dark vibe to him. So, and then episode 4, The Sith Lord. And this is the one that surprised me probably the most, because we actually saw Yaddle, Master Yaddle. And spoiler alert, even though we're in spoiler territory, she does not talk like Yoda does. She talks pretty normal. I read somewhere, actually earlier today, that this has been explained. The reason why Master Yoda speaks the way he does is that he actually speaks more like the old Jedi Knights used to speak, supposedly. Something like that. Because he's 900 years old, whereas Yaddle was only about 400 years old. And she speaks regular galactic basic, which is, of course, translated to English as we watch it, but technically they're always speaking what's called basic, which is like the common language that most species can speak. And so it starts with around the time of episode 1, when you see it time jumps a little bit in this episode. It shows that Count Dooku had heard about the Sith Lord that Qui-Gon had faced, and he wasn't surprised that the Council had basically ignored his, Qui-Gon's warnings about it and said that it wasn't a Sith Lord, must have been a mistaken. And of course, Count Dooku knew that, he's right. He must be right. I know he wouldn't make that claim or whatever. And you see him and Qui-Gon talk. And of course, Qui-Gon's now a Jedi Master in his own right. And then it fast forwards to right after Qui-Gon's death. And he's mad. And it shows him deleting the data point about Kamino in the Jedi archives using Sifo Dyas's passcode. And then it shows him heading off to meet Lord Sidious. But someone's following him, and it's Yaddle. And she discovers that Count Dooku has been working with Lord Sidious, although it's obvious that they make it fairly obvious that he's still struggling with his deception of the Jedi Order and his what he's doing, but he's doing it for the common good. And it's almost like you can tell that Count Dooku is still kind of convincing himself, no, I'm only working with this really bad guy because it's what's for the best to bring peace and order to the galaxy, blah, 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 blah. The same thing Sidious, sells all the time. And this one was surprising because Yaddle confronts Dooku, and Dooku ends up fighting her. Of course, at Lord Sidious's urgings, how he's always goading his potential apprentice to fully fall and to fully commit to the dark side. And Count Dooku kills Yaddle. And it's in that moment you can see his fall is complete. Now he has fully lost himself into the dark side. It was a very, very good episode. Far better than I had expected. And then the last two are going to be back to being about Ahsoka. Episode 5, Practice Makes Perfect. And it shows why Ahsoka has such a significant resolve. And that's what all this episode really is about. Showing the kind of training that Anakin put her through to toughen her up and make her better. Because he comes in and she's going against these little training bots, little training droids. And she's just mowing through them, no problem. And Anakin's not happy with it, and she doesn't understand why. Of course, she's still young. This is time jumpy too. This time jumps as a really young apprentice to, this time jumps a lot too, as a really young apprentice to a little bit older, and then to much older. And and it shows him having her with a group of clones around her. You know, phasers. You know, setting or not phasers, setting shows her with a group of clone troopers around her, where they have all their guns set to stun, and she's just getting her ass handed to her constantly. But she's getting a little better and a little better and a little better. And so what's really doing is it's humbling her quite a bit, and it's forcing her to learn and get better and better and better. And this is a really good one that just shows her resolve and how um she doesn't back down. She'll just keep up and get going. Just keep getting up and keep going. And then the last one, Resolve. And this one was with Ahsoka. This is after Revenge of the Sith. Ahsoka is in hiding. This is already past the last episode of the Clone Wars where she faked her own death, left her lightsabers so that, it wouldn't be, so that it'd be, pretty obvious that she's dead. And then, and so she's on the run. She's hiding out. She's trying to do like regular work. And she's in this small town. And of course, Ahsoka can't quite keep herself from trying to help people out. There's a big a collapse of a heavy load off of a like a hovering trailer bed, and she uses the Force ever so slightly to save this person from being killed. And this, of course, this person pretty quickly realizes she's a Jedi, and is basically talking too loud about her being a Jedi, and of course somebody else overhears who doesn't like it, and thinks that the Empire's great, and so he reports her, and the Inquisitor comes to investigate. Now this one revolves around the basic story of the Ahsoka novel, but it simplifies it and distills it right down, getting down to the point. This Inquisitor comes, my understanding is it might be the sixth brother, I'm not sure. Doesn't identify him. He's just noted as Inquisitor. Like even if you turn on captions, it just says Inquisitor. And of course, he's showing this kid who, thinks he's doing the right thing by reporting her in because, he loves the Empire and the Empire's great and blah, blah, blah. And the Inquisitor shows him, how the Empire rewards loyalty, which is basically to burn everything down around him and kill him. And or no, doesn't kill him, sorry. But goes on a massacre, kills a bunch of people, burns a whole village down. And Ahsoka, it shows Ahsoka unarmed taking this guy out because she's that good, because she's been trained by the best and forced to become better and better and better. And it also shows this is how she got her lightsaber crystals that she uses in her current lightsabers now. So overall, this show is this is a short show, and I hope they do more of these where we can get some more small looks into other people that revolved around, and maybe in other time frames. It doesn't always have to be Clone Wars time frame, but it'd be nice to see. And but I really enjoyed this. We all enjoyed it. All of us really enjoyed it, and that's saying something these days with the way Star Wars is and how divisive it can be and how lackluster it can be at times. And this is just top notch. Like I said, at least a 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5. The show is excellent. Highly recommended. Anyway, that'll about do it. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that notification bell if you so you can get the notifications when videos premiere or I'm going to go live. And then, of course, if you're subscribed, I do community posts now. I get a community post access has been unlocked, so I can put posts directly on the YouTube page. I don't have to rely on the Facebook page to do it. And I can say when I'm going live, or I can post polls, things like that. So, but I'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments in this video. I will respond to them as long as they're not spam. And yeah, so but I'll be you'll be hearing from me soon. I'll be live streaming a Bengals stripe stream soon. And then of course I've got some other streams that I'm going to do. I might do something where I talk about some not so good Marvel movies lately. And but we'll go from there. So, until next time, take care and have a great day.